House and Senate negotiators aren't wasting any time. They're formally beginning talks today to try to prevent another budget and debt crisis in just a few months. We're joined now by Republican Congresswoman Ann Black. She's part of those negotiations. She's joining us from Tennessee. She's a Republican Congresswoman. Thanks very much for coming in.
You're very welcome. Well, thank you for having me.
I know you got till mid-December, this deadline for these House Senate Budget Committee members to come up with a big package on the budget. Is it doable?
Well, I think that it's great that we're finally back to regular order, and we're talking with the Senate, which is what we should be doing, is what our Constitution says. And we are looking forward to having some common ground that we can find to deal with our nation's most pressing problems, our fiscal problems of our debt and deficit spending.
Well, good luck. Let's hope you guys succeed. The country's counting on all of you to do the right thing. Let's talk a little bit. You voted against the deal on the House floor last night. Is that right?
I did indeed.
Why did you vote? I was going to say, why did you vote against it? Because the country was suffering. S&P already said $24 billion had been lost to the U.S. economy. They were downgrading their estimate of economic growth in the fourth quarter. Why didn't you go along with the Speaker of the House, the Majority Leader, the Majority Whip, and accept this last-minute compromise?
Well, if I came to Washington to make some really tough decisions and to deal with what I think is the most pressing issue in this country, and that is our debt and our deficit spending. And this bill, unfortunately, last night gave the president a blank check and did nothing to control the out-of-control spending in Washington. And I have said since I've come to Washington that I will not give the president a blank check. I wish the president would have come to sit down and talk with us and talk with us about how we could solve these issues. Look, I didn't want the government to be closed down. I remind people, I voted for 4 bipartisan measures to keep the government open and keep it running. Closing down the government, no one wins, and the American people are the biggest losers of all.
Well, the president did invite all Republican members of Congress to come over to the White House. But your Republican leadership only decided that the leaders, the key committee chairs and others would go. But he did invite all of you to come over and sit down and talk, which is what you wanted. We asked some of our followers on Twitter to send a suggested question. You can respond, but let me just read this one that came in. This is from one of the Wanda, I think her name is. On your no vote, just what did you all accomplish? Party of fiscal responsibility, she says. What a laugh. Go ahead. What did you accomplish by shutting down the government for 16 days?
Listen, Wolf, I'm going to say it again. We did not shut down the government. The government was shut down because we could not get the Senate to come and negotiate with us, and we could not get the president. When our leaders went to the White House to have dinner, this is what the president told them: I will not negotiate. I will not negotiate. This is not just behind closed doors. He said this out in public. I will not negotiate. And that is not what the leader of our country should be saying to Congress. He will negotiate with leaders from Syria and Russia and Iran, but not with the members of Congress. That is not the way our form of government was set up, to have a king who just says, I will not negotiate.
But, Congresswoman, you really didn't...
I'm going to disagree with you.
You didn't really expect he was going to defund Obamacare, his signature achievement in his first term, something he worked really hard to get through the House and the Senate, ratified by the United States Supreme Court as constitutional, and then he won re-election by 5 million votes decisively with the Electoral College as well. You didn't really think he was going to make some significant changes to that signature piece of legislation that became the law of the land.
Okay. Well, let's look at what he has done. He has delayed the employer mandate because big business came after him and asked him to do that. He has delayed the verification piece and just weakened that so much that now it's just self-attestation, that someone can just come in and say, here's how much I make. And a lot of fraud and abuse that will occur as a result of this. He delayed the SHOP, which is for the small businesses. He has delayed the things that he wanted to delay. But what about the individuals that are suffering? That they're seeing that their premiums are going up and that they're losing their jobs and they're getting limited choices on their health care. Why didn't the president delay that for the everyday working person that's suffering as a result of this bill?
Just want to be precise, Congresswoman. No regrets on what you and your colleagues did?
I don't have a regret. I have a regret that that those that should have been coming to the table and talking to us about this when we started these bills coming to them in the Senate, where they just turned our bills down and wouldn't even go and sit down to the table. We started that in September. On September the 20th, we sent them the first bill. You tell me, have you asked the president why he wouldn't come and sit down with Congress? Have you asked Harry Reid why would you not sit down with the leaders of the House of Representatives and find a solution to this instead of continuing to stall and keep the government closed? That's who needs to be asked the question.
Harry Reid did sit down with Mitch McConnell, the Republican leader in the Senate. They worked out this deal that was overwhelmingly passed in the Senate and in the House of Representatives, including from your own Republican leadership.
And it did nothing to address the problems that we have right now.
So have you lost confidence? Have you lost confidence in the Speaker?
Not at all. I mean, the Speaker is the leader, and he made a decision that he felt was best for most of our conference. And I had to make a decision about what I think is best for my district and the American people that I represent in my district. Ultimately, we are going to have to make a decision on this. You know, we can keep kicking this can, but eventually it's going to hit us. And I say we stop now, and we say to the president and we say to Harry Reid, come to the table, let's talk. And let's hope that's what happens here.
Diane Black, a Congresswoman, Republican from Tennessee. Thanks so much for coming in.
You're welcome, Wolf. Thank you for having me.